Would you welcome Rodney Dangerfield?
What a crowd, huh? I'll tell you, when I was a kid, nobody liked my family, you know? They always wanted to get rid of us. I remember one time my family went on a picnic in the woods. The animals started a forest fire. I'll tell you, I never had any luck with animals, you know? When I play the horses, I always go broke. Every time I bet on a horse, I hear the same thing. They're off, except one. I'll tell you, life isn't easy, you know. I tell you, to me, life is just a bowl of pits. Now, with me, nothing comes easy. My wife, she don't help either, you know. Every time I take a few drinks, she hides the bottle. Oh, I admit I'm a bad drinker. I'm not nasty or nothing. But I'll tell you, when I drink the next day, I do two things. I gotta try and locate my car, and I gotta bring back the car I took. I'll tell you, with me, nothing works out, you know? Like last week, I went to see a new psychiatrist. I said, Doc, can you help me? All day long, I keep thinking I'm ugly. He made me lay in a couch, face down. I tell you, sometimes I think back, you know, when I was a kid, I knew I was ugly. When my parents on Halloween, they set me out as is. There's the same thing today, no respect. What a dog drove me crazy. For a half hour, I wouldn't let go of a bone. It was in my finger.
Good morning. It's Thursday, Jordan Peterson Thursday, January the 1st. Happy New Year. And this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have no free lunch, motivation, meditation, and Jordan Peterson. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. And now, there's no free lunch, 250 Economic Truths by David Bahnsen.
I would not be averse to eliminating the capital gain tax if I thought that were politically feasible. The income was taxed when you first earned it, and then if you invest it, should you be taxed again if you invest it successfully? I'm not too concerned about some who say this will only help the rich. You can debate who the rich are and who it helps, but I think that my primary interest is that it helps the people who want to get rich. That is, in particular, the entrepreneurs, which I think are the absolute key to the economy. Robert L. Bartley. Is the capital gain tax a double tax on those who pay it? It surely is. But far worse, it is a disincentive to capital formation needed to fuel the new ideas and new innovations necessary to create new wealth. Capital gain taxes do not hurt those who have already made wealth nearly as much as they hurt those who have not yet done so.
And that was There's No Free Lunch by David Bahnsen. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now from an article in the American Thinker called 2026, the Year America Begins to Rise Again. And it's the last 3 paragraphs of the article. And it's A Nation Rising. As the nation steps into its 250th year, we see a country rediscovering its strength, its purpose, and its soul. The groundwork is complete. The foundations are set. And now, the rewards, the renewal of faith, family, freedom, and prosperity are ready to be witnessed. Ronald Reagan once described America as the shining city on a hill, a beacon of hope for the world. With the foundations laid in 2025, I believe America is poised to reclaim that role once again. The golden age of this nation is not a memory. It's emerging right before our eyes. And at 2026, in my view, will be nothing short of extraordinary. So buckle in and enjoy the ride. A renewed America is rising, confident, faithful, and united. And its people will be driving force behind this new chapter of greatness. Wishing everyone a Happy New Year. God bless America. Okay, so that's the way the author did it. And I'm now going to read my edits, the edited version, called A Calling Rising. As conservatism steps into its 250th year, we see a calling rediscovering its strength, its purpose, and its soul. The groundwork is complete, the foundations are set, and now the rewards, the renewal of faith, family, freedom, and prosperity are ready to be witnessed. Ronald Reagan once described conservatism as the shining city on a hill, a beacon of hope for the world. With the foundations laid in 2025, conservatism is poised to reclaim that role once again. The golden age of this calling is not a memory. It is emerging right before our eyes, and 2026 will be nothing short of extraordinary. So buckle in and enjoy the ride. A renewed conservatism is rising, confident, faithful, and united. And its people will be the driving force behind this new chapter of greatness. Wishing all conservatives a Happy New Year. God bless America. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of Law and Order.
Sandy, he's a lifetime member of the Marquee Club. And I'm a member of the Elks. What are you going to do, arrest me for it? There's a big difference, Donnie. At your monthly meetings, nobody ends up bruised. It's a private club. Consenting adults. Nobody's breaking the law. It is when one of the adults doesn't consent. You show me one, I'll arrest the guy myself. Look, I think we can use some of this stuff as ammo in Liz's molestation case. It shows intent.
And maybe I can squeeze an apple and get orange juice. I'm telling you, one has nothing to do with the other. In a court of law, it's called inadmissible.
The guy is dangerous. If he hasn't crossed the line yet, he will. And then we'll arrest him.
Okay, there you go. So now the police officer, they're all police officers. The one guy there that says when he does, we'll arrest him is the captain of the homicide unit. So the one detective says, well, if he hasn't crossed the line, he will. Well, you can't arrest him for what he might do. Again, that's showing that the government thinks it has rights. And the government has no rights. So the captain was absolutely correct to say you got to wait for somebody to break the law before you can arrest them. We have a lot of law enforcement that's going on that's geared not towards criminal activity where people have crossed the line and broken the law, but it's geared toward dealing with people in such a way as to prevent crime or prevent them from doing certain things. So That's no good. Again, government has no rights. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a little bit of motivation.
If you have scattered focus, you'll have a scattered life. If you keep chasing every distraction, you'll keep bleeding time. And before you know it, 5 years have gone by. 10 years gone by. And you're no closer to your goals. You drifted. And the drifting turns into habit. And the habit turns into your life. A life that you never wanted. Don't let that happen. Don't allow yourself to fall down that path of complacency, of doing the easy things, getting caught up in frivolous activities or politics or gossip or what everyone else is doing. You've got to focus on you. Focus on your thoughts. Stop letting the wind take you whichever direction it blows. You've got to make a deliberate and determined effort to guard your mind and point it at what you're working to achieve.
What do I really want? What's my outcome? What's my result? Let's try to make this clear, because that's what's going to drive us to move forward. Where focus goes, energy flows. Clarity equals power. The more clear you are exactly what you want, the faster and easier it is to achieve.
Let's imagine the day only went to 1 p.m. Obviously, you couldn't get everything in. So what do you have to focus on? If you're going to have done by 1, what do you have to focus on? The major priorities done by 1. So write it down.
You see, this next week, one of the most important outcomes for me to get this week in my business, and you just write those outcomes out, not your action items, the outcomes. If you do that and nothing else, you'll be ahead of the game.
But subconsciously, most people don't even believe they deserve the success. So they end up sabotaging themselves or not going all in on things.
Our brain, if we think that we're not entitled to a lot of success, creates something called success barriers. Our brain actually blocks out all these cool opportunities that we have to have success because our brain just thinks that we're not deserving of success, so it'll block it out. On the flip side, if you think that you're entitled to a lot of success, a lot of happiness, your brain will block out obstacles. You won't even look at different obstacles, and you'll just look at opportunity. You'll just see opportunity right in front of you. Well, that's what a strong sense of entitlement is. It's like, I am entitled to a great review from my customers. I'm entitled for people to like me. I'm entitled for people to be positive around me. And that's what your reticular activation system focuses in on. That is all. That is your reality.
Start working and developing yourself now and prepare yourself for what it is that you want, because you expect to get it. A person that truly wants to be successful, they kind of show themselves. They're not the ones hiding. They're not the ones constantly celebrating. They're the ones that show up early. They're the ones that leave late. You get people that say, oh, listen, you don't have to work harder. You got to work smarter. No, you got to work harder and you got to work smarter. You got to do both of them. It's not a substitute. So when you find those individuals, they're not easily distracted. They come in, they ask for more work. They're the ones that are asking for pressure situations. They're not worried about when you criticize them or when you give them feedback, they go, I got it. They're going to improve themselves and make the adjustments needed to win. Staying dialed in on the end result. But you got to crave that end result so intensely that the work becomes irrelevant. LeBron wakes up every day and does what he does because he knows what he's going after. It's specific. And that's why I wake up with so much passion today, because I know what I'm going to get. You know exactly what you want. You know exactly what it tastes like. You know what it looks like. You know what it smells like. When you understand what you're after, when you know what your outcomes are, when you know what you desire, you wake up every single morning and you go after it. The most successful people in the world are the most successful people in the world because they have clarity on what they want. People look at those of us who are successful like we're superhuman. We're not. We're normal people like you. We're problems just like you. The only difference is we wake up with clarity. A part of your 10,000 hours of working on your gift is also 10,000 hours on shutting out everything else. Stuff is going to happen. The stuff that you can't control, forget about it. You're going to stop wasting energy and effort on stuff you can't control. But the stuff you can control, I want you to own it. If you got a 90-minute block, I want you to own that 90-minute block. If you got 45 minutes, I want you to
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a little meditation.
Welcome to Guided Meditation Voyage. You've gifted yourself these 5 minutes, a sacred pause before the noise of the day begins. Let it be a space where you can ground, breathe, and simply be. Find stillness. Sit or lie down comfortably. Close your eyes softly and begin by taking a long, deep breath in, and now slowly exhale. Allow the breath to cleanse your body, to calm your nervous system, to open your heart to the magic of this new day. Let go of the need to rush, let go of perfection. Right now you are simply arriving in this moment, in your breath, in yourself. Now, imagine the early light of dawn breaking over a peaceful landscape. Soft golden rays stretch across the earth, gently touching everything with warmth. Feel that light washing over your body, starting from the crown of your head, flowing slowly down your neck and shoulders, soothing your chest, your arms, your legs, until your entire body is bathed in this calm, healing glow. Take another breath in. Feel that breath awaken something new inside of you. And as you exhale, release anything that feels heavy. Release the expectations, the doubts, the fear. There is no pressure here, only presence, only peace. Place a gentle hand on your heart if you wish. Feel its steady rhythm, the rhythm of your life, your power, your purpose. You are alive, you are here, and that's already enough. Let these simple truths guide your morning. I welcome this day with an open heart. I am calm, grounded, and present. Today is a fresh start. Visualize your day flowing with ease and alignment. You move through every moment with clarity and calm. There's no need to chase, no need to force. You are in harmony with the rhythm of life. Opportunities come, joy follows, stillness remains within you. Feel yourself smiling gently from the inside. Feel the strength quietly rising within you. Not the loud kind of strength, but the kind that knows when to pause, when to breathe, when to just be. Know this, you carry your peace with you. It's not found in the perfect moment, it's found in this moment. Start to bring awareness back to your physical body. Gently move your fingers, your toes. Roll your shoulders if that feels good. Take one more deep, nourishing breath. Hold it gently. and release it with gratitude. Slowly open your eyes when you're ready. Smile, not for the world, but for yourself. Remember, you don't need to have it all figured out. Just take one peaceful breath at a time. This day is yours to shape, with kindness, with focus, with love. Thank you for being here. If this meditation brought peace to your heart, leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and join us again soon.
And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Jordan Peterson.
People often underestimate the gravity of psychological betrayal. It's not just about hurt feelings, it's existential. When you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, you're not just grappling with emotional manipulation, you're grappling with the distortion of your very reality. It's as if someone reached into the framework of your soul and rearranged the furniture while telling you it was your fault you couldn't find the door. And eventually, inevitably, there comes what I would call the final discard. And it's not just a breakup. No, it's the culmination of a pathological dance, one where your value has been systematically deconstructed, repackaged, and then discarded like refuse. People think it ends with silence, but the final discard is never truly silent. It's a psychic scream, a declaration that your humanity no longer serves the narcissist's narrative. So the question becomes, how do you identify that moment? How do you recognize with clear eyes and unshakable truth that this isn't just another manipulation tactic, another hovering cycle on pause, but the end? Because in that recognition, there is liberation, and without it, you remain a character in their delusion. Today, we're going to walk through this carefully, clinically, and honestly, because once you see the discard for what it is, you don't just survive it, you transcend it. When you've been entangled with a narcissist, the relationship is rarely stable. It's defined by emotional whiplash highs so intoxicating they feel divine, and lows so soul-crushing they seem demonic. There's a rhythm to the chaos, almost like an addictive melody that keeps you coming back, even when your intuition whispers that something is deeply wrong. This rhythm is deliberate. It's how the narcissist sustains control through confusion, emotional volatility, and intermittent validation. But then one day something changes. There's no more chaos, no more arguments, no more love bombs, no more passive-aggressive jabs wrapped in fake concern. What's left is nothing. Silence, emptiness, a cold vacuum where fire used to burn. This sudden emotional emptiness is one of the most profound indicators that you're experiencing the final discard. It's like the narcissist has exited the stage of your life without warning, mid-scene, and left you staring into the empty space where they used to have. It's jarring not because they left, but because the noise stopped. The cycle, as cruel as it was, gave you something to push against, something to fight for or defend yourself from. And now it's just gone. No closure, no explanation, no recognizable ending, just a void. This isn't just silence in the literal sense, it's an energetic absence. The person who once consumed your mental real estate now treats you as if you never existed. You could send a message and it might not even be read, or worse, it's read and ignored. The same person who used to flood your phone with texts, who could rage or seduce with equal intensity, now can't even be bothered to acknowledge you? For the first time, you're not receiving any reaction at all. And that's terrifying in its own way, especially when you've grown used to emotional warfare being the norm. In this emptiness, you begin to confront the uncomfortable truth. The narcissist's engagement wasn't real connection. It was manipulation, and it required your reaction to exist. Now that you're no longer a viable source of supply, whether through praise, pain, loyalty, or defiance, there's nothing left to extract. Your humanity has become obsolete to them. And so they disappear, often without warning, often without cruelty, because indifference itself becomes the new form of cruelty. Their silence isn't peace, it's psychological exile. What makes this particularly devastating is the emotional disorientation it causes. You may find yourself doubting your own instincts. Maybe this isn't the final discard, you'll think. Maybe they're just giving space. That's how trauma bonding works. It wires you to equate chaos with connection. So when the chaos ends, your nervous system goes into withdrawal. You start to question whether you did something wrong, whether you could fix it, whether you misunderstood them. But underneath those thoughts is a slow, creeping awareness that this isn't temporary. This is terminal. In earlier cycles, even during breaks or silent treatments, there was still a pulse. The narcissist would eventually return with some cryptic message, an accidental call, or a vague apology crafted to lure you back into the cycle. But with the final discard, that pulse dies. There are no breadcrumbs, no tension, no unfinished business. The drama has evaporated because the narcissist has moved on not just physically, but psychologically. They've disconnected from you the moment your usefulness expired, and to a narcissist, utility is everything. Once you cease to serve their ego, you cease to exist in their world. But it's a different kind of ending than most people are used to. It's not loud, not explosive. It's sterile, clinical. It feels like being erased rather than left, and that absence, that void where all the madness used to be, forces you to confront a brutal realization. The connection you believed in wasn't mutual. It wasn't shared. It was conditional, performative, and ultimately disposable. When a narcissist truly initiates the final discard, one of the clearest and most disturbing signs is the complete absence of hovering. No last-minute texts, no cryptic calls, no fake emergencies or birthday wishes disguised as olive branches. The silence is total, and for someone who has spent months or years trapped in a cycle of idealization, devaluation, and brief reconciliation, that silence can be far more disorienting than any insult or manipulation. You expect the door to creak open again like it always has. You wait for the bait, the guilt trip, the pity play, the flirtation. But nothing comes, and in that nothingness the truth emerges. The illusion has collapsed. Throughout the toxic relationship, the narcissist thrives on intermittent reinforcement, offering you glimpses of love or hope, only to yank them away. It's a psychological trick that keeps you craving validation, always unsure, always trying harder. Even after a breakup or a discard, hovering is usually part of the cycle. They come back not because they care, but because they want to see if the hook is still in your skin. It's not affection, it's inventory control. Are you still theirs? Are you still wounded enough to respond? That's the real question they're asking. And if the answer is yes, the game resumes. But when the final discard occurs, all of that stops. The game ends not because they've grown or suddenly realized the damage they've caused, but because you no longer serve the narrative they want to tell. The narcissist is always building a story, and you, for a time, were a character in it. When you cease to function in the way they demand, whether because you've gained self-awareness, set boundaries, or simply broken down, they no longer find you interesting or useful. The script changes. The character is written out. And unlike healthy relationships, there's no conversation, no explanation, no goodbye. Just a cold, deliberate erasure. This lack of hovering is often misinterpreted. You may think they must have finally moved on. Maybe they're happy now. Maybe it really was me. But that's part of the trauma. You're left to build a story in the silence, trying to make sense of something that was never truly about love in the first place. What feels like rejection is actually disengagement, not because you failed, but because the narcissist has extracted all they could. There's no empathy in their exit. No concern for your healing or your confusion. They simply stop because the performance is over. In previous discards, even if they left you broken, they would return in some form. A fake apology, a vague compliment, an attempt to guilt you into responding. But those moments were never about resolution, they were about control. Hoovering is about confirming they still have psychological access to you. It's about ensuring you're still spinning in their orbit, still vulnerable, still open to being hurt. So when the hoovering ceases entirely, it's not a mercy, it's an indication that you've been replaced in their psychological economy. Another source of supply has taken your place, or worse, they no longer see any value in monitoring you. What's especially cruel is that the final discard is often done without drama. It's not a storm, it's a disappearance. And because there's no obvious abuse in this phase, no name calling or screaming, it creates confusion. Victims feel they shouldn't be hurt by silence, but it's precisely this indifference that stings the most. After so many emotional battles, you're left alone in a quiet field, unsure of what just happened, trying to piece together a war that ended without a final shot. And here lies the deepest truth narcissists do not discard because of anything you did or didn't do. They discard when the illusion they crafted around you no longer sustains their inflated self-image. When you no longer play the role they assigned you, be it the admirer, the caretaker, the scapegoat, they move on to someone who will. There's no remorse, no second thought. The lack of hovering is not a sign of respect or resolution. It is confirmation that you've been removed from the stage without applause, without acknowledgement, and most importantly, without closure. Narcissistic relationships are built on control, not connection. From the very beginning, your identity is not seen as something to cherish, but something to mold. The narcissist doesn't relate to you as a person with your own dreams, thoughts, and individuality. Instead, they see you as a character in their personal script, someone whose existence only has meaning as long as it reinforces their inflated sense of self. You are not loved for who you are, but for how well you reflect back to them who they believe they are, or who they want the world to believe they are. And when your identity no longer serves their narrative, the unraveling begins. Subtly at first, then with a sharp, brutal finality. At the start of the relationship, narcissists often idealize you. They put you on a pedestal not because they see your true value, but because they believe your strengths will enhance their image. If you're attractive, successful, empathetic, those qualities are absorbed into their ego. They parade you around not with pride, but with possession. But over time, as the reality of your humanness begins to emerge, your needs, your boundaries, your voice, they start to see you not as an asset, but as a liability. You begin to threaten their fantasy. Your growing sense of self becomes an obstacle to their control. And for a narcissist, a partner with self-agency is intolerable. The final discard begins when you're no longer useful to the narcissist's constructed identity. Maybe you've started calling out their inconsistencies. Maybe you're no longer reacting to their provocations. Maybe you've simply outgrown the role they wrote for you. Whatever the case, your identity has shifted, and that shifted, they no longer see themselves reflected in you. The mirror is cracked, and because they lack the capacity to see others as separate, autonomous beings, they don't adjust. They replace. Your evolution doesn't spark a conversation, it triggers elimination. And this is where the discard becomes clinical. There's no negotiation, no effort to repair, no willingness to understand. It's as if they switch off a light. They detach with a chilling coldness because from their perspective, the version of you they needed no longer exists. And if you're not useful to their self-image, you're irrelevant. They may even begin to treat you with disdain or indifference, rewriting the narrative to make you the villain because in their story they were always the victor, the misunderstood genius, the one who tried so hard but was tragically let down. Your truth doesn't matter anymore. Only their version does. In this phase, many victims begin to feel invisible. Conversations that once felt intense and personal now feel mechanical or non-existent. Your needs are ignored. Your presence feels intrusive. You may find yourself walking on eggshells, hoping to reestablish connection, not realizing that the narcissist has already exited the relationship emotionally and psychologically. They're just tying up loose ends, if that. The warmth, however conditional it once was, is gone. The mask is dropped, and in its place is apathy or even contempt. This devaluation of your identity is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their inability to recognize or honor another person's individuality. To a narcissist, relationships are not about reciprocity or mutual growth. They are about validation and image maintenance. When you cease to provide that, you cease to matter in their inner world. They discard you not just because they're done with you, but because you no longer reinforce the illusion they've built around themselves. And if your continued presence challenges that illusion, they will eliminate you swiftly, often with brutal indifference. What makes this so painful is that you weren't seen to begin with. What you thought was connection was compliance. What you thought was love was leverage. And now, stripped of utility in their story, your identity is either rewritten to serve as justification for their departure, or it's erased entirely. When a narcissist reaches the final discard phase, the end doesn't come with heartfelt goodbyes or sincere explanations. Instead, it comes with something far more devastating, a sense of being replaced rather than simply rejected. And this replacement is not accidental or incidental. It's strategic, it's cold, it's calculated. To a narcissist, people are not human beings with inner lives. They are objects, tools to be used in the service of ego gratification. Once your value has been depleted, once your resistance outweighs your submission, they don't just leave. They substitute you with someone new, someone fresh, someone unaware of the manipulative game they've just inherited. It's important to understand this core mechanism. A narcissist doesn't want closure, and they certainly don't care about the damage left behind. What they crave is control, attention, and validation. When you no longer provide these things, when you've woken up to the manipulation, when your emotional energy has run dry, or when you begin to demand reciprocity, they don't see it as an invitation to grow or repair. They see it as a threat. Your boundaries are offensive to them. Your self-respect is interpreted as disobedience. And the solution in their mind is not to change or reflect, it's to find a new source of supply who doesn't challenge them. The final discard is often accompanied by the appearance of someone else. Sometimes it's overt. A new relationship posted all over social media, flaunted publicly, used as a weapon to humiliate or provoke you. Other times it's more subtle, vague references to someone who understands me or cold comparisons meant to diminish your worth. Either way, the message is the same: you've been replaced, not because you're unworthy, but because your humanity became inconvenient, because you began to see through the illusion, and nothing frightens or enrages a narcissist more than being exposed. This replacement serves a dual purpose. First, it gives the narcissist a renewed sense of superiority. They've secured a new admirer, a new puppet, a fresh character in their story. Second, and just as importantly, it punishes you. It's a final blow to your self-esteem, a carefully orchestrated move designed to leave you questioning your own value. After all you've endured, the gaslighting, the blame shifting, the emotional manipulation, being replaced without remorse can feel like confirmation that you never really mattered. But that's the illusion. That's the trick. The truth is you mattered too much. You saw too much. And for that you had to be erased. One of the most disturbing aspects of this replacement strategy is how quickly it happens. There's no mourning period, no emotional processing, no reflection. It's as if you were never there. That speed isn't a sign of emotional strength, it's a red flag. It reveals the transactional nature of the relationship. It wasn't about connection or intimacy. It was about functionality. And once you ceased to function in the role assigned to you, you were swapped out like a worn-out part in a machine. The person you're seeing now, this new supply, hasn't won anything. They've simply entered the cycle at the beginning. Their pedestal will one day become their prison. What makes this replacement so hard to process is that it strips away any sense of closure. The narcissist doesn't leave you with answers. They leave you with silence, confusion, and the sight of someone else filling your place. It's a brutal, emotional sleight of hand that can destabilize even the strongest person. But what it really reveals is the depth of the narcissist's emptiness. They cannot be alone, not because they crave love, but because they fear the mirror of solitude. Being alone means facing themselves, and that is the one thing they cannot do. So they leap from person to person, mask to mask, never pausing long enough to see the damage in their wake. To be replaced in this way is not a reflection of your lack. It is a reflection of their inability to connect beyond surface-level performance. What they seek is not a partner, but an audience. And once you stop clapping, they look for someone else who will dot. One of the clearest, most painful signs that the final narcissistic discard has taken place is the rewriting of history. This isn't just forgetting or misremembering events. This is a deliberate, calculated distortion of reality, one that casts them as the misunderstood victim and you as the irrational aggressor. The narcissist knows that maintaining a grandiose self-image depends on external validation. So once they've discarded you, the next phase of their campaign begins. Reputation management. They start reshaping the narrative, not just in their own mind, but in the minds of anyone who will listen. Friends, family, colleagues, no one is off limits. Suddenly you're not just an ex, you're the antagonist in their carefully crafted story. This rewriting is strategic. It's designed to protect their fragile ego from accountability. Narcissists cannot tolerate the idea that they might be flawed or that they might have caused harm. In their world, everything bad that happened must be someone else's fault. And if you were close to them, especially if you saw behind the mask, then you become the primary threat. They don't just need to discard you emotionally, they need to destroy your credibility. They need to make sure that even in your absence, your truth holds no weight. And they do it under the guise of being honest or just sharing their side. You may begin to hear through mutual connections that they're portraying you as unstable, controlling, or emotionally abusive. They'll cherry-pick isolated incidents, remove context, and present themselves as the long-suffering partner who tried everything. This is not done in the spirit of closure, but in the spirit of conquest. They need to be seen as the hero or the victim, never the perpetrator. And if smearing your character is the price of preserving that illusion, they'll pay it without hesitation. What makes this tactic especially insidious is how believable they can be. Narcissists are often charismatic, persuasive, and skilled at playing the role of the wrong party. Their charm becomes a weapon. They can cry on command, express regret with convincing sincerity, and feign vulnerability in a way that draws others in. Meanwhile, you, the actual survivor, are left reeling, grappling not just with the trauma of the relationship itself, but with the additional betrayal of having your story stolen and inverted. This rewriting of history serves another function, too. It justifies the replacement. By painting you as toxic or impossible, the narcissist can seamlessly introduce the new supply into their life narrative. I finally found someone who appreciates me, they might say. After everything I went through, I deserve happiness. On the surface, it sounds like a healthy pursuit of healing. In reality, it's a mask worn over cruelty. It allows them to discard you publicly without looking like the villain. And it allows the new partner to step into a role built on deception, unaware that they are simply the next player in a familiar assembly or in our. Even worse, if you attempt to defend yourself, it can play directly into Rasayer hands. They may provoke you intentionally, knowing that your emotional response can be used as further evidence of your instability. It becomes a no-win situation. Speak up and you're proving their point. Stay silent and their lies go unchallenged. This is the narcissist's psychological warfare at its finest, manipulation through perception. What often breaks people the most is not just the smear campaign itself, but the realization that those around them might believe it. It's the betrayal by mutual friends, the sudden coldness from once supportive family members, the sense of isolation that deepens when your reality is publicly denied. You start to question yourself, wondering how someone who claimed to love you could twist the truth so convincingly. But that's the cruel genius of narcissistic abuse. It doesn't just hurt you, it discredits you. This rewriting of history is not an accident. It is the narcissist's final layer of protection, a shield against introspection and shame. They discard you not just physically, but narratively. You're no longer allowed to be the protagonist in your own story. They seize the pen, rewrite the chapters, and expect the audience to applaud. In the final discard, one of the most devastating realities is that the narcissist does not seek closure, because closure to them would mean acknowledging the other person's experience. It would mean allowing space for truth, for emotion, for accountability. And those are things the narcissist cannot and will not offer. Closure is a human process rooted in empathy and mutual respect. But narcissists operate in a different realm, one where dominance, image control, and emotional detachment take precedence over understanding or healing. So when the relationship ends, it ends not with a conversation or a recognition of what transfigured, but with a void, a vanishing act that leaves the other. The absence of closure is not a passive oversight, it is an intentional weapon. Narcissists know the chaos they've created. They are aware of the emotional turmoil they've stirred in you. But rather than take responsibility or help make sense of it, they leave you with unanswered questions and an internal storm. And it's in that storm that their power continues to linger. As long as you're searching for meaning, still trying to figure out what went wrong, you remain tethered to the experience. That's the cruel irony of it. The narcissist is long gone, physically and emotionally, yet the psychological grip persists, sustained by your desperate need for resolution. What you're often left with is a mental collage of contradictions. Moments of affection clash with incidents of cruelty. Promises made are canceled out by betrayals delivered. You try to reconcile how someone could appear so loving, only to discard you with such indifference. And without closure, that cognitive dissonance becomes tormenting. You replay conversations in your head, analyze texts, revisit arguments, searching for a thread that explains everything. But there is no neat explanation, because the entire relationship was built on unstable ground. The rules changed constantly. The goalposts moved whenever you got close, and the truth was always obscured by manipulation. You may even begin to wonder if closure was ever possible. After all, this was someone who routinely invalidated your emotions, twisted your words, and denied your reality. How could such a person suddenly become sincere at the end? Yet even with that knowledge, the longing for closure persists. Because deep down you are seeking justice, not just in the legal or moral sense, but emotionally. You want your pain to be acknowledged, your experience to be seen. But with narcissists, the end isn't about healing. It's about erasure. They don't end things to make peace, they end things to maintain power. And sometimes the absence of closure is compounded by their new beginning. They might move on quickly, appearing happier and more stable than ever. They might showcase their new relationship, project, and image of growth, or even suggest they've learned from the past. But it's all part of the performance. It's damage control dressed up as transformation. And for the person left behind, this facade only deepens the wound, because while you are still sitting in the rubble, they are already redecorating a new house of illusion. This lack of closure often forces survivors to take matters into their own hands. And while that process is difficult, it is also powerful, because it marks the first time in the relationship that you are no longer relying on the narcissist to define the narrative. You begin to realize that closure was never something they could give you, because they never truly connected with you in the first place. What they were invested in wasn't the relationship, but the reflection. And once your reflection no longer served them, they discarded the mirror without looking back. Healing in the absence of closure means accepting that some people will never apologize, never explain, never validate your experience. It means finding peace not through answers, but through acceptance. It means grieving not just the relationship, but the fantasy of who you thought they were. And in doing so, you start to shift your focus away from their silence and toward your own voice. Because in the end, closure is not about their ending, it's about your beginning.
And that was Jordan Peterson, Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you're not neutral and that the government has no rights.